Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the CDBG Fiscal Year 19 Floodplain Project public hearing. This is the last public hearing of our program year for the upcoming budget year. My name is Chris Klimchuk. I'm the grant coordinator from the Community Development Department. We also have with us today Mr. Jason Smith from Wade Trim, and we'll be presenting the public hearing. We open the public hearing at this time at 7 o'clock, and we will give a brief presentation and then offer it to any public comment. This public hearing, the City of Dearborn Heights is considering funding with Community Development Block Grant CDBG monies projects which may be located partially or fully within the 100-year floodplain. The use of federal funds requires compliance with the Federal Executive Orders 11988 and the Floodplain Management and 11990 Protection of Wetlands. The subject projects are four of the next projects that we'll bring up Jason, and he'll detail what those projects are, and then we'll explain practicable alternatives, if any, and then send it out for public comment on any of these projects. So at this time, I'd like to bring up Jason, and he'll continue from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. As Chris mentioned, we are in the process of our 2019 annual action plan with funding through our CDBG program. With any federally funded program, there are environmental requirements, environmental review requirements that we must meet in order to make the funding available for spending. In this scenario, we are assessing our 2019 activities that are being proposed. Step one of that process is we determine if the proposed projects are located within a 100-year floodplain. I've provided a map that shows the locations of the projects that are being proposed for 2019. As you can see, within the city of Dearborn Heights, there are some extensive areas of 100-year floodplain throughout the city, primarily in the south end, but there are 100-year floodplain throughout the city. We did take a look at all of the activities being proposed for 2019. There are four activities that we've identified as being a potential of being funded within the 100-year floodplain. Project one, the Housing Rehabilitation Program. This is a project that gets funded annually by the city's CDBG funding. They're proposing $205,158 for 2019. This activity consists of minor housing rehab located throughout the city. We have not identified specific locations for the housing rehab program for 2019, but we will assess each individual address as we move forward to determine its location within or outside the floodplain. With the housing rehab program, as mentioned, it is minor rehab, which is 50%. The rehab costs 50% or less of the current market value of the home. Each home that is rehabbed within the floodplain will be required to have flood insurance. Being such that this program being minor rehab and insurance being a requirement as part of the program, we see no further assessment needed for the housing rehab program. This is following in suit with what we've done in past years. The code enforcement program is the next activity. Funding being proposed is $100,000 for the 2019 program year. Code enforcement being funding of the Code Enforcement Department to assess and enforce codes that are currently on the books for the city. Code enforcement officers do patrol the city within our low and moderate income areas, which is what is being funded through our CDBG program. This activity, given that it will be citywide, we anticipate could take place within a 100-year floodplain, but given the nature of a code enforcement program, there are no physical changes to the floodplain or to land being conducted, so we see no further assessment needed for the code enforcement program related to a 100-year floodplain. Project 3 is the Eaton Center facility improvements. The Eaton Center being located on the south end of the city on Part E. The proposed project is in the amount of $91,000. This program is proposing upgrades and improvements to the existing Eaton Center facility. The Eaton Center is located within the 100-year floodplain, but we don't anticipate any disturbance to the 100-year floodplain given the nature of the activities being proposed, which is design, engineering, construction, and administration and construction costs to the facility itself. And then finally, the demolition program being proposed for the 2019 program year in the amount of $50,000. The demolition program aims to eliminate vacant and blighted structures within the city, specifically single-family structures. We have not identified specific addresses yet for the demolition program for the 2019 CDBG program year, but as we do identify those specific addresses, we will evaluate whether those homes are located within the 100-year floodplain and act accordingly related to our environmental review process. So we can't really do any further analysis on that demolition program given that we don't know specific addresses, but typically with a demolition program requires a demolition of the single-family home. If it has a basement, digging out the basement, doing proper backfill, and then proper grading of the site, and ultimately grassing of the hydroseeding of the site. Given the nature of this program, a demolition program, it creates less surface that where water can't infiltrate. So I feel that a demolition program is a improvement to the 100-year floodplain and creates less hard surface. So we don't anticipate any negative impact from the demolition program moving forward. So that's an assessment of the 4 activities we are proposing that could potentially or are being funded within the 100-year floodplain. At this time, I'm going to turn it back to Chris Klimchuk to identify whether there are any public comments related to the activities being proposed.
Thank you, Jason. Just a few points of clarification on those projects. Jason did touch on a few of them. In the housing rehabilitation program, those are qualified on a low-mod housing, low-mod income housing benefit per project. So that's how they're qualified on the national objective for the CDBG program. The demolition program, mainly on those, that would be a spot blight national objective that would cover those. And the code enforcement, those enforcement activities are undertaken in the low and moderate income areas of the city. So that is a low mod income area national objective. And the Eaton Center would be a limited clientele objective because that is a senior center. So I just wanted to clarify a few of those for the public, that's how those are qualified under the national objectives for those 4 specific projects that may occur in the floodplain as well. So thank you again, Jason. And at this time, we've given you the information. If there's any public comment or questions, we'll take at this time. Not hearing any comments at this time. We thank you for participating, and at this time we will close the public hearing and we will proceed with these projects accordingly under the block grant program. Thank you very much.